Man United increased their Sancho bid, Arsenal closing on Ben White, the latest from Copa America, UEFA scrapped the away goal and a transfer roundup, all coming up on today's OneFootball Daily News. As I'm your host Angelina Kelly, let's get into it. First up, and could it be that the longest transfer saga seemingly in football history, Jadon Sancho to Manchester United, is actually realistically coming to a close? So of course Manchester United's opening bid for Dortmund was allegedly rejected, but the club are now stating that they are willing to up their bid to €85 million, and this has got Dortmund pretty interested. Now, as I've stated before on the Daily News, personal terms have already been agreed. The deal is looking like it's going to be about 5 years, and his weekly salary could be around £350,000. Now, the price tag is reportedly €10 million shy of what Dortmund originally wanted, but it's looking like both clubs are confident that an agreement can be reached in the coming weeks. I'm sure that Manchester United fans will be breathing a sigh of relief at this news. Jadon Sancho probably himself also to finally have this deal potentially done and dusted. He is of course focusing on England and Euro 2020, and things haven't been great for him so far. He's only actually managed 6 minutes of game time. He doesn't really seem to be at the top of Gareth Southgate's priority list when it comes to starting 11s. Perhaps he's saving him for the round of 16 and potentially beyond. We'll have to wait and see. But another England player who actually is not Euro 2020 that will be keeping one eye fixed on this Sancho deal is Jesse Lingard. Lingard, of course, is a Manchester United player. He went to West Ham on loan last season. He managed to regain his form, and apparently he does still want to stay at Manchester United, but if Sancho does arrive at Old Trafford, this of course will put his future in jeopardy, and he may have to make some decisions about his future, as it's unlikely that Solskjaer will be starting him over Sancho if we're being realistic, and it could be that he does head to West Ham on a permanent deal. Next up, and as I've mentioned previously on the Daily, Arsenal are of course interested in Brighton defender Ben White. There have been some talks. A bid of £40 million was rejected, but according to Sky Sports, this deal is actually getting closer to the finish line. So Arsenal have put in a new bid of £50 million. This allegedly has been accepted, and the two clubs are in negotiations. Of course, White is predominantly a centre-back. He can also be deployed into midfield as well, but if he does make this move to Arsenal, this could potentially cause some problems for other Arsenal players, predominantly William Saliba. The 20-year-old, of course, was not a Mikel Arteta signing. He was already at the club when he arrived, but since Saliba has been at the club, the 20-year-old has been on loan left, right and centre, and it's looking like if he doesn't get a permanent move away from Arsenal, he could be going back on loan next season, as if Ben White does arrive, this is just going to push him further down the pecking order. But according to reports in France, Saliba does not have to worry, as numerous clubs are interested in him. Firstly, there's Newcastle United and Southampton still in England. There are numerous clubs in France, also Bayer Leverkusen in Germany, and 2 unnamed clubs in Italy. So like I say, Ben White's arrival, maybe not the best thing for some Arsenal players, but I'm sure that Arsenal fans would be really happy to see him putting on their shirt. Now, the potential arrival of White and the fact that Arsenal have been linked with Sheffield United goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale does indicate that perhaps Mikel Arteta is focusing on the defensive issues within the squad. Even though they did have the 3rd best defensive record in the Premier League last season, but will focusing on defensive issues be enough for Mikel Arteta to truly be able to compete with his squad next season to try and get Arsenal European football again? I guess we'll have to wait and see, but meanwhile Ben White himself is of course focused on England and Euro 2020. He hasn't actually made an appearance yet. I don't think I can see him making an appearance when England face Germany next week. However, Gareth Southgate will have bigger fish to fry, as he really does have to focus on who will actually be in that starting 11, especially up front, whether Jack Grealish and the likes of Bukayo Saka have done enough to get a place in that team that will face Germany. And don't forget, you can find plenty more Euro 2020 content not only on the OneFootball app but on the Volkswagen OneHub as well, so make sure you check them out, and if you're watching on YouTube, the links are directly beneath this video. Next up, and there was more Copa America action on Thursday that actually saw Uruguay get their first win of the competition with a 2-0 victory over Bolivia. Bolivia's defence did manage to do a pretty good job of keeping Uruguay out for the majority of the first half. However, 5 minutes before time, they did crack under the pressure, and Bolivia actually ended up scoring an own goal. For Uruguay, like I say, they got the win. Edinson Cavani scored the second goal, but they really do need to take a look at how many chances they actually missed, not just from Edinson Cavani, but from Luis Suarez, Facundo Torres, etc. They really need to look at how they can convert all of these missed chances into actual goals in the back of the net, as they have got a big game coming up in Copa America, as their next fixture will be against Paraguay, who are actually second in their group. And speaking of Paraguay, they were also in action against Chile. They managed to get a victory, and it was a really intense game of football, especially in the midfield, as there was a real battle for possession. Paraguay did have the edge, potentially looked a little bit sharper, they had a little bit more aggression. Unfortunately, one of their players, Antonio Barreiro, did end up having to be stretchered off the pitch with what looked like a serious injury, but all in all, it was a great win for Paraguay. However, for Chile, they do still sit in third place in their group, and all eyes have actually been on one of their players, Ben Brereton. I've spoken about him before on the Daily News. He's actually a Blackburn Rovers player who does have family ties to Chile, which is why he's representing them, and he has actually caught the eyes of a Premier League club. The 22-year-old has already scored his first international goal for Chile in the competition, and according to Red Goal in Chile, apparently Leeds United are interested in the player. Now, this isn't just Leeds United on a whim, seeing him score a goal for Chile, deciding that they want to sign him. Allegedly, Marco Bielsa has been watching the player for 2 years now and has reportedly decided that he is now definitely interested in signing him. The player is currently at Blackburn Rovers. He has 1 year left on his contract, and reportedly with his stock rising, Blackburn Rovers are in a bit of a dilemma. They don't want to lose him on a free next year, but they do want to try and keep the player. So it'll be interesting to see if they do manage to hold on to him or if Bielsa gets his man. Our next story is all about UEFA, who have abolished the away goal rule in European club football, and this is set to come into effect next season. The rule has been used since 1965 to decide the winner of a two-legged game that is held at a draw, with the rule stating that you should favour the team that have scored the most away goals. The competitions that will be affected are both the Men's and Women's Champions League, the Europa League, the newly introduced Europa Conference League, the UEFA Youth League and the UEFA Super Cup. And now what will happen is if at the end of 2 legs a game is drawn, there will be 2 15-minute periods of extra time, and if the game is still not decided, it will then go to penalties. UEFA do state that the reason for this is that it is no longer appropriate for away goals to carry more weight, and they personally believe that the advantage of playing at home isn't as great as it once was. For many, this will be seen as a great decision. In the past, former Arsenal boss Arsene Wenger has criticised the rule, also Atletico Madrid's Diego Simeone, and I'm sure that clubs like Manchester City and Ajax will be happy to see it put into place, especially after they missed out on the Champions League in 2019 when they both lost out to Spurs on this away goal rule. Many clubs have, of course, been burnt by the away goal rule. However, whilst, like I say, some people are probably happy that it has now been scrapped, there are some people that are quite upset. Some people believe that the away goal rule gave games a little bit more competitiveness, a little bit more excitement, and they'll be sad to see this go, and also the fact that this could potentially mean that more games are going to go to penalty shootouts, which in my opinion I think is still just as exciting. It is unclear as to whether this rule change will be applied to other competitions as well, as previously World Cup qualifiers have used the away goal rule alongside the AFC Champions League, the Copa Libertadores and the Copa Sudamerica. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see, but it will be really interesting to see how this does affect football, and if maybe one day we could even see it return. And last but not least, we have our transfer roundup. This is where I take a look at some of the other news and transfers going on in the footballing world. And first up, journalist Fabrizio Romano has spoken about Lionel Messi, stating that he is ready to commit his future to the club and will be signing a 2-year contract. Speaking of Barcelona, and according to ESPN, the club are potentially open to a swap deal between Inter Milan's Alessandro Bastoni and their left-back Jordi Alba, although the Spanish international has stated that he would not contemplate a move. Florentino Perez has stated in a recent interview that he didn't even read Zinedine Zidane's departure letter to Real Madrid fans, and that he doesn't actually even believe that he wrote it. And regarding Rafael Varane, he has also stated that the club have not had any offers for the player yet. And finally, it's looking unlikely that Liverpool's Mo Salah will be featuring for Egypt in the Olympic Games. Whilst Egypt are pushing for him to star for the nation, Liverpool reportedly want him at pre-season training. And the fact that they have already denied the request of Ibrahim Konate to feature for France, it's not looking good for Salah. So that's everything for today's OneFootball Daily News. As always, check out all the other content that we've got here, and until next time, I will see you all later.